What it do, Internet? David Baugh here, and I have always wanted to be a filmmaker. Every wishing well, every shooting star, every time the clock strikes 11:11, or I have really any other reason to wish something, I have always done the same wish. Please, please, please just let my movies get made. Everything I've ever done in my adult life up until now has been almost exclusively dedicated to movies, other than hobbies that I've picked up because I thought that they would look good in a movie if I ever got around to making one. As a kid, I would pore over my favorite movies and I'd watch them dozens and dozens of times, and trying to put myself in the filmmaker's shoes and decide how they went about doing it. I also firmly believe that if you want to get good at something, then it's best to learn from a master of the craft. And today I'm going to start out, I want to get really in depth with this movie here. I'm going to start with The Shawshank Redemption, which is arguably one of the better movies that was ever made. And I wanted to get really in depth with it. I'm taking just a small cutting from it, and I wanted to show it, with the scopes. I wanted to show waveforms, all of that, so that you can get a much better idea of exactly what it takes to put a movie together. Now, if you haven't seen the movie, there's obviously going to be spoilers here. I tried to pick the best scene, and I was looking for very great examples of filmmaking. You may be looking to just watch this movie. I would say if you haven't seen it, just watch it. I'm going to assume going forward that everyone that is involved here or watching now has seen the movie and is willing to get in there. But I'm going to leave this all open so you can see kind of how things are going. But before we get started here, I just want to take a moment to look at kind of what they're doing. It looks like it's a little bit brighter than, I guess, 0, which would be kind of true black. But it's not very dark. It looks like they've even crushed the midtones a little bit. I'm not sure if when they did this movie they would have had to do any sort of color correction, or if they even could have done color correction. May have come after this. I guess this movie came out in, let's see, I guess it was 94. So it would have been, fairly close to the time they started doing color correction. You can see that if we're just analyzing the light coming over here, there's definitely a pretty big light source, I would say, off to the side here that is giving them a lot of their light. You can see that even the black levels and the white levels are going up way high there. It's definitely doesn't look like anything coming through here, although that movie does have a lot of really rich and deep low lights. I imagine they used a lot of negative fill to get there. But why don't we start this up and see what happens. Also like that they got the lightning. And it switches to another shot here. I don't know if you saw that. That looks like they may have gone through and even rotoscoped in some extra brightness. They clearly have like a major front light here so that it all reacts the same way regardless of whether you have the lightning going at the time. And you can even see it jumping up here, which is real cool. Tim Robbins. Is it Tim Robbins? Yeah, Tim Robbins. Ooh, that beautiful. So this is the shot that everybody recognizes from this movie. Beautiful overhead shot. I imagine they probably also had to get a rain machine, which is crazy. And you can see how much it's jumping up. They must have flooded it with light. It looks like it's coming from sort of a downward angle there, or maybe the camera is tilted a little bit. And then when the lightning goes away, you can also see some of that. And that's a beautiful shot. So it looks like we've got it on it's got to be on a track of some sort. I would imagine if they're getting that track in there, they would have had to build this wall in order to be able to get that look there. And then, like I was saying before, this beautiful negative fill on the side. You can see it goes almost completely black. You do get a lot more light on this end. You could see where he's at. So there's a light coming there. Looks like they also have a light that is hitting the background, and then maybe some cutters or some negative fill to get to there. And then it looks like a really bright backlight to get some of this spill onto here and create some contrast between Morgan Freeman and the side of this. One thing I also really like about this interchange here is that they don't show you what it is. You know, you don't see his face. I guess they would have had to get... Look at these props they would have had to build. We can even zoom in here. Let's take a look at what these say. Look at that. Got official stamps and stuff. Proper identification. Randall Stevens and some sort of address. Huh. And then they filled out the paperwork the same, and then the same. Look at that. Just great attention to detail. That's awesome. So let's get this back. Again, this ashtray and these nice cups and stuff. And they didn't show him until just now. You know, they walked him in. He brought down all the stuff. They laid the setup. And even before this whole interchange started, they show him like getting all of these pieces together. And this is the scene where he kind of shows everything that he was doing. And so it's really cool. I wonder if they'll show. No. And they would have had to get, look at that. Look at this location. That's awesome. So it looks like we've got a light coming in here. Definitely one coming from behind. And it looks like that may even be the key light for this gentleman here. And then some fill. They didn't do negative fill for this. They definitely brighten it up, which I think gives it more of a feeling that he's gotten out of the darkness of the prison cell and he's made it through. You know, I think that the lightning kind of draws that in too. So this is interesting. I imagine these lights here are probably casting a little bit too. I don't know if that changed the decisions that they made or if it was intentional. And I love that it tells a story. You see him leave, you know, and at first we saw him come in and we saw him put the stuff down, but now it's kind of flipped. You get the opposite action. It's still that same follow, beautiful bokeh coming in here, and then rack focus to this. And what's really cool about this shot is that you don't see anything. You know, it's all sound. It's all sound from the Daily Bugle. So you see him getting the paper, and here's the paper. You know, there's the flip side of what they're doing. I also am noticing they're putting, look at that, there's a magnifying glass there. You rewind further back, same magnifying glass. I wonder if that was intentional. I wonder if they've got it in the other place too. Is there a magnifying glass on the desk? No. Yeah, but it's just audio that tells you what's going on or where this is. And then the reaction. They present something to you, and then there's the reaction. And you could see that negative fill is starting to come back. You're definitely getting a lot darker lowlights. I mean, over on that side of his shoulder, I mean, you're almost as dark as it was when he was just walking through the night. And then they also kept it below 100. That's probably this window right here, this little area. And these would be the blinds, this little jagged interchange there. And you can see the front of his face. So he would have had something coming maybe this way at his face, at the ridge of his face, and then they kept a lot off here. Maybe just a bounce or a simple light, nothing too crazy. It may even have been just exposed properly, and a lot of stuff coming from there. You also see the colors are starting to get a little bit more even. His judgment cometh, and that right soon. That's interesting. So it sets up this. This is his judgment coming, you know. I love that these scenes, it's kind of set up something, show it happen. Pull the Bible out. What does this say? Dear Warden, you were right. Salvation lay within. Andy Dupree. Dufresne? Was it? Something. More negative fill. Reaction shot. And I also like that they did a sort of counterpoint edit here. So you see, you know, where he's just sort of getting into it. His chin drops a little bit. He's a little more serious. There's the shot. There's his reaction to that shot. And there's another setup. Look at all these extras. Man, and all those cars. Look at that. Look at those. And these are period cars, it looks like. I mean, that's not what cars look like in the 90s, which this was 94. So they would have had to get specialty cars. It looks like they got specialty lights here. The paint theme is consistent with that. Looks like it's just lit outside. They may have had like a big diffusion sheet. There's the setup. And they do that same counterpoint editing. Point. And then they're going to flip. Or even, ooh. And it looks like they would have used maybe like a glide cam or some sort of dolly motion. Beautiful darks there. It's right on the edge. Everything that they shoot in this prison is super dark. But great contrast. I mean, it's almost going over the edge here, and it's almost going under the edge here. You know, and all that color is coming from the light area, so it's going to be this. It's kind of skewed towards skin tone here, which is nice. It's a beautiful prop. Look at that. Little snub nose, 357. Look at this lighter here. This is cool. His reaction. Looks down. Shows what he's looking at. And then back to that shot. So they use the shot twice. Because there it is when he's putting the bullets down. It's probably one take. Reaction shot. So you get to see him noticing all these people. And there's that same shot. And this slow push in to build intrigue. And then the flip side also gets that, you know, so it's encroaching almost. The darkness, I will note here, like, so they're full on losing things in the highlights. And the low lights go down to 4, maybe 5. So they've brought that up significantly. They've expanded their middle ground. You know, you're not seeing those luscious darks here like you were seeing before. There's this light here. which has got to either be this window or it's got to be a light placed, maybe off to the side somewhere over there. Ooh, and the smoke. Clever. It's also, look at the, as far as sound mixing goes, yeah, it peaks. Yeah. Look at the blood on the floor. That's not how that would happen in real life, I don't think, because he shot himself upward. There should be an upward trajectory of blood, but it does create this nice pool effect here. They also brought down the darks again for this interchange, kept the bullets there. It's very barren. It almost looks like there's not much on his desk other than the Daily Bugle. Yeah, if he had gotten shot up through here, and it looks like most of the splatter landed there would be no way to get blood on the floor. But it looks cool, so we'll give it to him. So that is the end of that. We have gotten through it. Hopefully you guys found this entertaining. I wanted to make sure that you could see it, and it's one of my favorite movies. So I think that it's important to look at things like this and to really go in depth so that you can tell exactly what's going on. I mean, this scene in particular at the end here, after they do that nice pull out, which it's pushing in, it's pushing in. Pushing in further and pushing in. And then we get this nice release. And it goes for longer than you think it's going to go, which is amazing. So they would have needed something that would not only tilt, but also pull back on a track potentially, which is cool. Now, if you guys like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. We definitely like to have more people involved. If this is something that you would like to see more of and you'd like me to break down other movies in this way, write down in the comments what you think movies would be good, for here. And we'll do it the same way. We'll show the waveform. I'll try and pick a scene out of it. We'll show the Luma and the RGB parade and those sorts of things, and kind of get real deep into it. But yeah, just let me know how you feel about it. But it was a pleasure as always, and you guys have a wonderful evening.